Hi yogis, I'm Nicole. Thank you for joining me on the mat. So we're gonna just get started in an easy, comfortable seat, and a blanket towel is an amazing tool for your practice for so many poses, but especially to make easy seat a little more comfortable. You bring the hips up. It's gonna give you a little bit more space, be a little kinder to your lower back. It'll take out any arcing. By all means, if your knees are not comfortable, even with hips raised, legs can come out. What really matters is that our sit bones are connected into the mat and we have this sort of lift in our spine, but our muscles can relax around our bones. I always think of them as sort of like that inner structure. So take a little scan as we center in. Assess your body, how it feels. Remember this idea of our spine stacking tall and everything relaxing around it. Really think about your shoulders softening away from ears or your shoulder blades melting down your mat. We're going to be focusing on the shoulders a bit tonight. So we really want to start to release them, understand where they're at in this moment. Now focus on your breaths, really expanding your chest, maybe so much so that even your belly feels like it inflates once you push the diaphragm down. And then a slightly core engaging, long released exhale. We do a lot of long holds in yin, so the more in touch we are with our bodies and our breath, the more we have something to focus on and bring us back to present. Yin is a very mentally challenging practice because of the stillness and the long holds. So let's have a little tip forward onto our hands and knees so we can get into the next posture. We're going to take a child's pose. So you've got lots of options here. You can sit back on your heels, take your forehead to the mat. You could open your knees about mat distance apart, drop your torso between your knees. You could take your blanket towel, why it's such an important tool, and you could help give your legs a little support. So it doesn't matter how you take your child's pose. What matters is that you come to a depth that's appropriate for your body. There's these like 3 principles surrounding yin, and one is appropriate depth. We want to come to a place that feels very good for our bodies, because another foundation of our yin practice is to be still. Now, I'm always going to tell you to honor your bodies, even if that breaks with stillness. But you might want to find those quiet moments. And then we hold for a length of time, about 3 to 5 minutes. So this child's pose, settle on in, because it's going to be one of our longer holds. So notice how this feels in the shoulders, in the neck, the length of your spine to your lower back. Then notice where your thoughts go as your body becomes still and the room gets quiet. You might focus on the palms against the mat, the elbows, the warmth your body creates, all tucked into itself. Connect with your body. Appreciate its ability to take the posture in any form. Focus on your breath. Think about breathing deeply into the backs of your lungs. Maybe as you exhale, you feel yourself soften into the posture a little deeper. Are you still? Have you had to move? No worries. Our bodies will tell us what it needs when we tune in and listen. And our breaths will help us relax our bodies and settle into the posture more deeply. Just a couple more breaths here. You can see how this pose, or how this practice, I should say, can be rather challenging. With its long holds and quiet moments. For so many of us, we have to learn how to slow down, to surrender. Breathe very deeply into the backs of your lungs. Exhale. Inhale, slide up to a tabletop, bringing your wrists under your shoulders, your hips over your knees. Now, yin might be a very still practice, but we put in some counter poses. So let's inhale, lift up our chin, bring our shoulders back, find a bit of a cow pose. And then exhale and arc. It might feel a bit like our child's pose, that nice sort of opening of the spine. And take a little inhale, lift. Exhale, arc. So we're going to bring it to neutral, and we're going to take one of my favorite yin poses, the Anahatasana. Sometimes heart pose. Sometimes we'll say melting heart. So you'll see I'm keeping my hips stacked over my knees as I walk my hands forward. And depending on where your shoulders are at, you might start with your forehead on the mat. You want to try and rest your elbows. Make this somewhat relaxed. It's a big pose for the shoulders, and it might be a big pose for your posture. Now, if you're looking for more depth, you might try your chin on the mat, or you might try and do what the pose says, melt your heart a little closer to the mat. Just be mindful of your lower back as well. This is a wonderful pose for anyone with shoulder pain. Our daily lives can have us rounding our shoulders forward. This brings them back into space. It's just a wonderful counter movement to daily life. Of course, we make sure there's no pain in our shoulders. We find that appropriate depth so we can hold. And this is a posture where you might really have to exhale. Tell your body to relax, to open. We won't hold it quite as long. All right. And stay for one more complete round of breath. And then we'll inhale. We'll walk up. We'll take a moment to neutralize in our table. We never want to do anything too jarring to the spine. So we're balancing ourselves out. And then we're going to exhale. Just roll a tiny arc. How does that feel? Inhale to neutral. And as a bigger counter, let's sit back into child's pose. Hopefully muscle memory starts to kick in. We're not going to hold it quite as long because now we're treating it more as a counter movement. So just about a minute here. See if you can't find the breath in the back of your lungs. It might be nice to drop your arms by your sides so the backs of your hands are resting on the mat near your feet, truly countering what we just took in our Anahatasana. It's great too because we just contracted our shoulders. Now they're open back up. And we're telling our body to send blood here now. So really stimulating, really healing. And then we'll take our hands down to the mat. We'll inhale up to a table. Nice neutral spine. This time give your hip a little bump over to the right. Have a peek back at it, sort of like you're looking over your right shoulder. Bring it to center. Our horse biting tail just kind of gets a little side flexion going in our spine. We're going to do the same thing to the left. We'll bring it center. Then we're going to take our forearms to the mat. Make sure your elbows are lined up under your shoulders. Walk your knees back. Bring your hip bones to the mat. I like a little core engagement here, a little flex in the front because it protects the lower back. I will say, if you do have issues in your lower back, this might not be your pose. You could also give yourself a little support. You see that blanket towel comes into play so often. So what I love about this, with elbows aligned directly under shoulders, we're kind of drawing our shoulder blades together. It's a very stable shoulder. If our Anahatasana was a counter movement to daily life, this would be another. It really relies on shoulder stability, which, again, with that hunching forward at computers, over electronics, over steering wheels, overstretches us. So a nice big hold. You can pick your chin up. How does that feel in the throat? Does it feel a little too compressing in the back of the neck? Would you like to roll your eyes forward and lengthen out the back of your neck? It's really a pretty strengthening posture and wonderful for our spine, just like the other two poses we took. Keeping in mind that it is a more active pose, we won't hold quite as long. We will, however, now take our hands out to the edges of our mat. Inhale up, keep a softness into your elbows, lift your chin. Now we're in our full seal, a stretch across the front. Again, we're going to keep it a more mild hold. Gently press the tops of your feet into the mat. Exhale, roll down. So you can inhale, come to table. Take a moment. Let the spine just be in one neutral line. Think about the vertebra all lined up. Exhale. Roll a little cat art. Check in. How's that counter movement feel? If it feels good, come back to neutral. And once again, have a seat towards your heels. Another child's pose. Hands could be forward or at your sides. This is once again a nice counter pose, so not held quite as long. here for a few more rounds of breath. Try and find a little ease in the stillness. It can be tempting to let the mind wander off, but bring it to a focal point like breath or body. And then inhale up to table. We're going to ease our way over onto our seat, taking our legs out. Now we're putting a pretty big focus on our shoulders, but why don't we take one little lower body pose to make sure we are completely good and balanced. So sit bones connected, legs out long. Your blanket or towel can always keep you from hyperextending the knees, or especially if you have lower back pain, you can bring it under the seat. We are going to take a simple hinge forward. So we call it our caterpillar pose here in a yin class. We're lengthening up our spine, lifting up from our head, hinging from the waist. That gives us a little stretch in the lower back, which if you think, we have been moving our lower backs, sort of gentle bends in our child's, and then some of our chest opening poses. This gives it a beautiful length. We're looking for that appropriate hinge forward. We want to feel a little something in the backs of our legs. We don't want it to be our maximum stretch. A place where we could relax in, where we can feel sort of the hold and the time spent here gently opening up our muscles. And then it's also a beautiful reminder to relax your shoulders. It can be very easy to draw them up to the ears, to undo all that beautiful work we just did. But you can soften them, be easy in the upper body, while still working the lower body. Let's inhale, lift and lengthen our spine. Exhale, make sure we're at the hold, the depth that is appropriate for our body. Find connection, find present through body and breath. Inhale, come on up. Ease your way up. Bend into your knees. Another favored yin transition is the windshield wiper, where we just send our knees back side to side. Clearing out space in our lower backs. So if you were on a blanket towel, come on off. You may want it, maybe not. We are going to come supine on our backs here. And always easing into the transition. Our spines have done a lot of work. Notice how they feel stretched out against the floor below you. How does that feel in your shoulders? I like to add one more set of windshield wipers. All right, we'll bring our feet still. We'll take our knees to our chest. We'll give ourselves a little hug, a couple little rocks. And we're just gently going to set our knees to the right. I like to open up my arms to remind my shoulders to relax. Our twists, well, very spinal focus, can be wonderful for the shoulders. Your blanket towel could always rest under the right knee or between the knees. You can face your ceiling. If it feels good in the neck, you can look to the left. And twists are the ultimate release pose. The more we relax, the more we sink into the posture. So how could you relax? Scanning the body, visualizing softness in any holds, or just feeling release. Maybe it's through breath. Maybe you direct your breath across your body. And you use the exhales to soften and settle deeper into your surroundings. If the mind ever goes astray, simply acknowledge where it went, and then make your way back to present through focus on breath or on body. If you were looking to the left, gently bring your head to center. Take your legs to center. Give them a little hug and feel your lower back release. A couple rocks might be nice. Then ease your knees to the left. Remember, you might want to open your arms. You might want to place your blanket towel under your knees or between. You could face ceiling. You could look to the right. You are looking for that depth that is appropriate for your body. You are looking for something comfortable enough to relax and find stillness in. With the body in a good place, we begin to assess where our thoughts go. Let them go naturally. Don't judge where they go. Acknowledge. And then see what you can do when you use a focal point like breath or body. Can you quiet the thoughts? And does it feel restful? It doesn't matter how many times you tell your mind to come back to breath or body. It's the coming back, the practice that we need. It's building our brain towards being more present, and it is just a beautiful practice. A couple more breaths. Next inhale, we'll bring head center. Legs will follow. We'll give ourselves a hug, a rock. If you are into those windshield wipers, maybe one more set. We want to make sure our body is just balanced and complete. And we'll give our knees one more hug into our chest. And we'll exhale our legs long. Now we're in our Shavasana, our final rest. We do all of these movements to come to this space. So take a moment to get comfortable on your mat. If you need to support knees with blanket towel or bend them to settle your lower back. And then especially after a practice like yin, take that full body scan. Assess what you're feeling after that practice. Could you inhale? Feel the breath go all the way down to your toes. Could you exhale and feel your legs, your seat soften, settle more deeply into the mat? Could you breathe down to your fingertips? And then exhale a sense of ease into the entire upper body. Could you feel the support of your head, the weight of your thoughts, almost suspended? So you can take a couple easy breaths and make them your sole focus. More importantly, could you find stillness, ease, awareness? Such a beautiful reset. Remember, if your mind should wander off, your breath, your body can bring it back. Inhale very deeply down into your fingers and toes, create some movements. Roll out your wrists, your ankles. I like to turn my head side to side. Take a little reach. We roll to one side so we can ease ourselves to seated, where I like to say, thank you so much for sharing the practice with me. I would love to hear your feedback, so please drop a comment if there's any videos you want to see, and don't forget to subscribe to the page. Thanks.